Well, I don't know how one should act in relation to the estate of one's mother-in-law. Of course. Anything else you wish to add to that?
I'd be disinclined to lock her up for life, which is what he's alleged to have done.
That's precisely what Henry VII did with his mother-in-law, Elizabeth Woodville, in due course, isn't it?
That's debated. She may well have retired to Bermondsey Abbey through ill health, it is said. But again, you have to consult Tudor historians, I think, on these matters, rather than, as I said, humble and increasingly discredited medieval historians.
I thought Richard died before the end of the medieval period.
The terminology of periods is a matter that's in dispute between
historians. Let us not waste time upon that, perhaps, Mr. Richards. And let me turn then to another detail, for I shall call evidence upon Richard's status. He had, would you agree with me, at any rate this far, shown himself totally loyal to his brother Edward IV, therefore totally loyal to the crown.
Totally loyal to his brother Edward IV, so far, but not loyal to the crown under Edward V.
Please, of course, add anything you wish in your answer. Let's go on from the 9th of April. The first thing that Richard did was to summon the lords and nobles of the north, for he was a northerner and identified very much as a northerner by those in London and the south, to a requiem mass in York Minster, requiring that those who attended immediately undertook an oath of fealty to the new king, Prince Edward.
That's so.
Came to London to undertake the post which had been imposed upon him by the will of his brother, namely as protector to the infant prince.
Though that will had been set aside by the decision of council to vest the regency powers in itself.
Yes, that council then reversing that decision immediately after his arrival.
And after
on the 10th of May.
And after the dispersal of the Woodvilles, who had been the dominant factor on that council.
Of course, one has to bear all these factors in mind. He was advised by Hastings, was he not, to seize the prince on his journey, for to secure the prince would be to secure himself.
That's right, yes.
It's right to give full weight to that fact, for it was the advice that Hastings gave him, a fact mentioned in Mancini, not alas, however, in Croyland.
Hastings believed that that was what was necessary, yes.
After his arrival, he continued to act, having been appointed protector, in the interests of the king-to-be, Edward V, requiring acts of fealty to be undertaken by those in London towards the king, and undertaking the first steps towards the coronation, which one would expect. To begin with, Edward was placed in the palace of the Bishop of London, close by St. Paul's. The council resolved that he should be placed in the Tower, which is not the Tower as we understand it today. It was the premier royal household with many buildings around what we now see as the Wall. It was traditional at that time that the king should travel to his coronation from the Tower.
It was a sort of royal palace at the
Indeed.
time. I see.
Indeed. It was the premier royal palace of England, was it not, Mr. Richards?
I guess you could call it that, yes.
It would be traditional, of course, that members of the king's family, the king-to-be's family, should travel with him from the Tower.
Yes.
Thank you. Between then, and now we're now to the end of May, really, at high speed, and the 13th of June, comes that letter to which you have referred, of the 10th of June, written to the Mayor of York, in fact.
Yes.
Written by Richard, describing himself as the brother of kings and the uncle of kings, so that he was maintaining that same attitude as the protector throughout. calling upon assistance from the mayor and the notables of York, for he had identified the Queen, her affinity and adherents, as plotting against him and Buckingham. And if one reads the letter, it is clear that he is asking for assistance, for he fears not only the destruction of himself and Buckingham, but also the interest that he represented, namely the North. That's correct, is it not?
Yes.
Powerful support for Richard's fear has recently been uncovered, only in 1980, in fact, by a fragment in the Royal College of Arms. Do you know the one to which I refer?
No, you'll have to refresh my memory.
MS2, M6.
You'll have to refresh my memory.
May I read the relevant passage to you? There's a reference to Buckingham in it as well. In the meantime, there was divers imagined the death of the Duke of Gloucester. That's Richard, the defendant. And hit was espied. I have to read the words as they existed. It means that it was found out, does it not? And the Lord Hastings was taken in the Tower and beheaded forthwith. The manner of his beheading can be criticised, but within that there may truly be a reason for his beheading.
As soon as the tumult started in London following the beheading, Richard sent out heralds to announce that there had been a plot, but there is no evidence for a plot. And you say the manner of the beheading, but there was no trial.
I mean, that's criticism of the beheading. I fully appreciate the latter, but within that, and that fragment, as I stress again, only came to light in 1980, one finds corroboration of Richard's genuine fear. Does one not?
The document to which you refer, as I now recall, are the commonplace books of a London merchant. And he was recording the sort of views that were current in London. But the Croyland Chronicle, which I believe is the work of, or based on the memoirs of Bishop Russell of Lincoln, who was a prominent figure in the government, says that innocent blood was shed and there was no trial, no judgment, and that Hastings, in effect, was not guilty.
Two views, to be balanced, here as in so many parts of this matter.
I'd be inclined to give more weight to somebody who was at court and was a government minister rather than a citizen picking up gossip.
So I understand you to say. One last matter, can I just understand, if I may, please? The time of the release of the daughters, which is February and March of 1984, that's the daughters of Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville, who were in sanctuary in Westminster Abbey, was after Henry VII had attempted to join Buckingham in the uprising in October 1483, after it was rumoured that the princes were dead, and when the finger might have pointed at either Richard or possibly at Buckingham, or possibly at both. And after Henry VII had sworn on Christmas Day, I think, in Rennes Cathedral.
That's right.
To strive for the throne of England and undertaken to marry Elizabeth. Elizabeth does not... Elizabeth is the eldest daughter of Edward IV.
That's right.
So it was in those circumstances that Elizabeth Woodville surrendered Elizabeth Woodville, her daughter, to the power of Richard of Gloucester.
That's
now Richard III.
Yes.
Very well.
Because she was a canny old political bird, and she knew she needed to survive.
I don't think you like Elizabeth Woodville very much, do you?
Not a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Dr. Ross, please.
Thank you.
Dr. Jean Ross, I think it's right that you're senior lecturer in anatomy at the Charing Cross Hospital Medical School.
That is correct.
Lord, before I asked